So I can foresee a total elimination of single-family homes and just all apartments, condos, duplexes with ADUs and no parking. That's not going to look very well thought out for a community, and you'll have an enormous amount of traffic issues as well.
SB 9 and 10 were passed to help solve California's housing crisis, a blanket law that covers the entire state. But some are concerned that it will end the single-family housing and suburban life in California.
So if you have a window that oversees the neighbor's bedroom, the neighbor cannot go to the city council and say, hey, you need to stop this project and make them move the window because they're invading my privacy, because SB 9 says the local government has no control over that.
My guest today is Peggy Huang, council member for the city of Yorba Linda. Today she'll explain how SB 9 and 10 will impact our communities and discuss her ballot initiative to give control back to the cities.
Already there are several law firms and real estate investment firms that have been holding seminars ever since SB 9 and 10 have passed to teach people on how to purchase, develop, and skirting the laws.
I'm Siamai Korami. Welcome to California Insider.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. It's good to be back.
We want to talk to you about an initiative. You guys are working on an initiative to actually change SB 9 and SB 10. In the past, I've known developers that they want to build and they have a plan and they're going through a process. They've been in the system for 20 years and they can't pass the CEQA. But now this approach is like, if you have a backyard, you can build in your backyard.
It's basically building at what is already dense area. So it's actually very much against the environment when you build and you intensify the use of the land in a very small acreage. And that's what a lot of these laws have been about. They're not about affordability. They're not about the environment. It is about building in already dense area. And Sacramento is full of contradictions. They want to be environmentally friendly, but they make it so expensive for you to build a house. And at the same time, by intensifying an area, they don't do more for the environment, they actually hurt the environment. And what's worse about all this intensification is also it's in areas like Los Angeles where infrastructure is aging. And so when you put in a lot of pressure on aging infrastructure, you will see issues like the Crenshaw sewage spill that we just had. Cities cannot pay for those infrastructure improvements when Sacramento says, well, city, you cannot increase the cost to the developers. Back in 2018, Sacramento froze developers' fees at 2018 level. Since then, we had wage increase, material cost increase, inflation out of control at this point, from my view, and yet cities cannot increase that development fee in order to pay for the infrastructure improvement. Education, the schools cannot collect additional dollars when you build additional units on your lot, according to SB 9 and 10. So then you have the pressure at the schools as well. So it's a very much build without any concerns for intended consequences. We know those are going to happen, but Sacramento frankly does not care and want to intensify very.
Can you explain what is Sacramento? Is it the state government? Is it the leaders? Who are these people?
And thanks for asking that. And it's really being driven by the legislature, by two senators, Senator Wiener from San Francisco and the President pro tem, Tony Atkins from San Diego. It's being driven by that. Governor Newsom made up a number while he was campaigning that we have to have 3 million housing. He made that up, and then that became the goal. You hear it all the time where the governor and everybody said we have 3.3 million housing shortages. But however, Embarcadero Institute as well as Freddie Mac showed that the governor's numbers included double counting and actual shortage is around 800,000 units.
Well, was there a study, that 3.5 million, was it the McKinsey study?
It was a McKinsey study that Sacramento Bee had exposed and showed that it was a campaign study. It wasn't a true study. So there is no study. And when pressed for those numbers, we were able to show there were double counting involved. So even SCAG, when we did our housing report, we also highlighted the possibility of double counting. So everyone knew this was going to happen, warned our leaders in the legislature and the governor that there is a possibility of double counting. The response is, well, we have a housing shortage. It doesn't matter if it's 800,000 or 3 million, just build. And all of that building is centered around the concept of job center and transportation. So that's really about building housing in already dense area, because that's where the jobs are, and transportation. And what's really bad about all these housing bills and the promotion of mass transit is, if you are in an area where there's mass transit, and that could be just one bus stop that nobody uses, the city cannot impose parking requirements within half a mile radius of that bus stop. So you're talking about single family homes and condos all mixed together and no parking. And I think it is wrong for the state to continue to march down the idea of eliminating single family housing. San Jose eliminated. Now Los Angeles is looking at it. And there are many cities under this idea that single family homes is somehow racist. It may have its roots in racist segregation idea back in the 1900s. But if you speak to any Black or Latino individual, they want to own a home. They want to own a home with land, because we all know land is what creates generational wealth. It brings people out of poverty.
Do they have to pay any property tax on these extra units? So you mentioned that they're not going to be supporting the schools, and they're not going to be paying any fees for the cities too.
And that's a challenge that we have asked about, how this will be reassessed under Proposition 13, and we haven't received a definitive idea of calculation. How do you take a previous lot and split it and put all these multiple units? Do you reassess as brand new development? What happens if an existing building is still there? So it'll be very challenging. One of the things that was not well thought out in the SB 9 idea is also with the banks that have mortgages, right? Because a bank is not going to give up something that was worth, $500,000 and let you split it in two. And how do you value that? So there's a lot of issues there financially, and how we can actually pay for a lot of the infrastructure as well.